Hi, this is John Reed of johnerp.com. I wanted to do a little something different this time. I wanted to talk a little bit about how it is you can succeed when you have an ambition to become a real third-party solutions provider in SAP. And this is a very common ambition. It could be that you're a developer and you've always worked for projects, but you really wanted to have your own entrepreneurial play in the market. I hear from all kinds of folks who are not in the SAP environment who would like to build an add-on product for SAP. And you know, it can be very lucrative if you can position yourself properly. But just like anything else, it takes work and it takes timing and it takes a lot of factors to succeed. But I've certainly advised a lot of clients on how to do that. And I think there really is something to be said for it because there's only so many times you can provide the same service over and over again. If you have a real solution you can offer companies, a real piece of software that can help them, it can make a difference. And right now with SAP, I think there's a growing desire on the part of companies to have value-added products they can implement right away that can really help them without necessarily doing a big bang project, but something really useful that can help with a key piece of functionality. So there's an appetite for this stuff in the SAP world, and I think SAP to a large degree has encouraged that type of ecosystem in recent years as well. Of course, there are some challenges. One of the challenges is you have to pay attention to what SAP validates, because in many industries, if your solution isn't validated by SAP to some degree, then you're not going to have the confidence of customers to try out your product or solution. So there is a validation curve, and that's probably a whole other discussion as far as just understanding that you can't just wing it. You have to understand SAP security protocols and everything else. So you can't be out in the wilderness. You got to pay attention to the rules. But having said that, beyond the partner track and all the stuff you can look into on that front, there's some other important principles to keep in mind. One is that the most successful SAP third-party solutions that I've worked for, they have a very specific thing they do and they excel in. Once you start talking about a broad portfolio of products, it's just not going to work that well. You really need to start with one thing that no one can do as well as you, that you can position in such a way that there's no company out there that can easily, quickly duplicate what it is you've done. Maybe you have a small patent on part of your process, or you just understand an issue because of your industry expertise in a particular area. So that's very important, not to get too broad in scope and try to be all things to all people. Sometimes I think of that as like the Bill Gates mentality of going for broke. And the problem with going for broke with something huge is that a lot of times it's better to start with something small and profitable and then figure out how to scale it. So be the best at something. And then another piece of that is, okay, you got a super quality product, but maybe you're coming at a bunch of different markets at once. Like I know Solutions, they got one for Oracle, they got one for PeopleSoft, they got one for SAP. And I'll go on their website and I'll tell them, you don't have an SAP landing page on your website. You don't have any connection to the SAP community, so you're not really branding. And I have one client tell me, well, we can't really do that because we need to maintain this broader footprint. We can't come off as just doing SAP. Well, that doesn't make any sense. You can create sub-landing pages in your site that are geared towards that community in SAP or any other area you're targeting, and really gear a lot of your audience towards that page, and a lot of your search traffic will land on those pages and they will feel like you are catering to their needs. So that's another piece of it. The other piece is that as much as you can excel with a product, if you can't market that product effectively, you're not going to be successful. So there's sales and there's marketing, and both of them are important, and I have found companies tend to underinvest in both. And one of the great things about marketing right now is that if you're willing to buy a flip cam video like me, or I'm not any expert on video, but it's fun to do these videos and some people watch them, and podcasting is really my best skill, and so I do a lot of those. And I've been able to make a name for myself through the things that I have done that have cost me very little investment in terms of equipment, but they have cost a lot in terms of time. But you know what? I have a passion for it, so I do it. And that's a thing I see too much with third-party solutions is that try to push a product instead of pushing an idea, pushing something you're passionate about. Your product has to solve an existing problem. This is one of the smart people I was talking with today. Said, if you don't solve a problem, not a hypothetical issue, but a real customer problem, but beyond that, you solve a problem, but you have to have a passion for a particular area. So for example, if you have a business intelligence type of product, there's a company called Simplemont that I met at Sapience, and they have a really neat real-time business intelligence extraction tool they built. And I thought it was great, and it solves an immediate pressing need, and it's all real-time, and it's the SAP data in the form you want. There it is. And so they built it, and they have a passion for it. And so when you have a passion for a particular area, you say, well, we're not just going to push a product. We're going to share expertise on business intelligence trends. Maybe we'll do a webinar series on this topic and invite speakers. Maybe we'll present at conferences ourselves. Maybe we'll create a forum where individuals can ask questions. I think you can go the extra mile and get people really energized about your product by helping them in a particular field or area to understand better where the trends are going and what you know about it. So that's a big piece of it too. And once you've solved that problem around what you have a stake in and how you're going to make a community contribution, the rest of the marketing is a lot easier, because then all the different social networking sites that seem to be so confusing before, it all makes sense. Yeah, on Twitter we can share our stuff. We can get into conversations about things we care about. Man, I can tell you this right now, there's very few third-party vendors in SAP that know what the heck they're doing on Twitter. It's a mess out there. And that part of the problem is that they haven't started from the beginning here and done the work around strategy and around community and around making that contribution. And then the social networking really takes off, and it seems a lot more like meaningful conversation and a lot less like just pushing product, which is useless. No one will follow you, no one will listen to you, so it's pointless. So that's kind of a window into some of the things that I talk with companies about, or even just friends who are looking for advice on that type of stuff. And if you do all those things, you can be successful. And you might have noticed that I haven't mentioned too many specific examples. There are some on my website, so if you check it out, feel free to look. I just didn't want to get bogged down into naming clients I've worked with on this video, but these principles have been applied in many different areas, and I can tell you that if you specialize and don't get too broad, and you bring something to the market that's really needed, and you get into the community and share information, I think you're going to find you can do something beyond simply being a consultant, and maybe developing a product is how you're going to do that. This is John Reed of JohnERP.com, wishing you luck with your entrepreneurial SAP dreams.